everybody. This is Don with the vlog of many things. Welcome to the show. We have two of our compatriots to my right, or your left.
Steve.
Down below us is.
10 car folks. I'm obviously not home and not in the Poconos. So
No, he's not. He is actually, highballing it, drinking White Claw.
wait. It's black cherry White Claw. I was gonna go with the blackberry, but it only came in a 6-pack, and I figured
And what? And
three,
what's?
three nights, I might need
And
more.
what's not involved tonight, Eric? There are what? No people. What? There's no hookers with White Claw at your.
There's no. Before we go into today's festivities, there was supposed to be 4 people in this Airbnb.
I was getting ready. Oh yeah, what happened with that?
Well, Rich and I got a puppy this summer, so the puppy needs attention. It's only 4 months old. My parents aren't necessarily ready for the feed you 3 times a day and pick up your poop constantly aspect of puppyhood. So Rach, we decided last weekend she was going to stay home. Then Rob's wife came down with a severe cold or a flu. It was yesterday, and then Rob woke up with it today, and he had to bow out. So it's all me.
All yours.
You're what they call free balling it in the military.
But I'm not. I'm still wearing my underwears. I'm not really
Still wearing your underwear.
I didn't want to sit in an Airbnb's chair with my bare butt cheeks out.
And the number 4 compatriot, because he can't pull dial-up speeds right now, is in
Chat.
timeout.
He's sitting in a corner, like little Jack Horner.
Paul, Scott, how you guys doing tonight? Well, real quick, we're going to talk a little bit about. We're going to dig in tonight about the Gygax Memorial Fund, and we're also going to talk about some other things happening with the vlog coming up. But the Gygax Memorial Fund is going to probably be a big part of our discussion tonight.
I missed all the excitement on Facebook on it. I missed that on my drive here.
Well, let's give kind of a breakdown what's going on here. Is for those that do not know, the Gygax Memorial Fund has a board of 3 people. We have Gail Gygax.
Oh, no, she's no longer. She's not really part of the board. She's president emeritus or whatever.
But she's in the minutes.
Okay, but she's not on the taxes. She's not listed.
Who's on the actual board then? Because you can't have 2 people on a board because you have to have a quorum.
You have to have 3. However, I'm going to give you a little curveball on that one. It's Paul Stoneberg is the president, and you got Gail's sister, Carpenter.
Yep.
And I believe you have Alex.
You have Alex, the youngest son, I believe, of Gary.
Yes. Now here's the curveball, which I don't believe has ever come up yet. But if you look at the tax filings, and yes, by the way, the fund is a valid nonprofit for.
It is a valid nonprofit. Real quick, Eric. Hold on. I need to get something out of the way real quick. First of all, we're not making any allegations of impropriety. We're not making allegations it's not a legal 501(c)(3). It is.
Yes. It's above board.
Yep.
But not only that, it is above board for collecting monies for a nonprofit in Wisconsin. Now, that's important because it's no longer incorporated in Wisconsin.
That's right.
It's incorporated in Omaha, Nebraska. Now,
which is odd.
Well, there's a couple of odds. One of the odds, it surprised me when I did my research. I apparently in Nebraska, you only need a board of 1.
Well, you need a quorum of 1 for a single corporation or LLC like Michigan. Or if you do a multi-member LLC or corporation, you have if it's going to be a corporation, not an LLC, you have to have 3 in Michigan. I think Nebraska is the same.
When I was seeing for the nonprofit, you only need 1, but they have 3. It makes no difference. But we're parsing nothing because they do have 3 on the board. But it's not been necessarily advertised that it's no longer a Lake Geneva, Wisconsin nonprofit. It's
Yes.
licensed to operate within Wisconsin. So that paperwork, I found the paperwork, it's
Yeah.
all legit,
Yeah.
but it's incorporated now in Nebraska.
And I actually looked at their 2023 income taxes.
Uh-huh.
And I mainly was interested in their Schedule O because their Schedule O, for those of you who don't know, is where your miscellaneous expenses are listed at.
Right.
And I'll get in that in a few minutes because that's interesting to me. Now, real quick, the problem here that I have with the Gygax Memorial Fund is number one, um, I'll call it emotionally an issue, and we'll break this down to legally an issue. And we'll go through the emotional part first. The problem I have with the Gygax Memorial game, it's called the Gygax effect. Let's show this. It's called the Gygax Memorial Game Table for Dungeons and Dragons fans. You know, I understand what they're doing, but I just think it's a really crappy thing to leave out Dave Arneson. And I really have a personal problem with that because, you know, I know Gary and Dave Arneson had their issues. That's historically a fact. That is just the way it goes. But I really think that this is kind of a FU middle finger by Gale and Stromberg by proxy because he is supporting it. And the rest of the board, including Alex, against the other individual who was instrumental in the creation of Dungeons and Dragons. Now, if they called this real quick the Gary Gygax Memorial, that'd be different. But they're saying it is the Gary Gygax Memorial Game Table for Dungeons and Dragons fans. And that's the issue that I have.
Yeah, but see, and I understand why Arneson isn't part of it, and I do because it's the Gygax Memorial Fund. It's not the D&D Memorial Fund. It's not the original D&D Memorial Fund. It's not the TSR Memorial Fund.
Yeah,
It's the Gygax Memorial Fund.
absolutely.
So I don't have an issue with Arneson not being included, but if there is a plaque that talks about the creation of it, I would expect to see Arneson's name on it. Or
Well, that's an interesting thing you say that, Eric, because earlier today I had a Facebook back and forth.
ooh,
Okay, Jolly Blackburn, to his credit, shared this. And by the way, I have to say something about Jolly Blackburn real quick. Although Jolly Blackburn disagreed with me on Facebook about my points, Jolly Blackburn did it in a very professional way and a very polite way. So hats off to Jolly Blackburn for being
The
very,
adult.
very adult and nice about his points. He made some good points.
mm-hmm.
So a individual, and I'm going to show this comment because it's public, made this comment to Paul Stromberg. And he said, no thanks, they blew through all the money from the first fundraiser, never even had the funds in an interest-bearing account. The website hasn't even posted required legal docs since 2022. Where did 200K go? Now here comes Paul Stromberg. And this is the problem I have with Paul Stromberg. Paul Stromberg really did, and I'll bet you he thought about this before he posted it with this word salad. He said, Stephen Field, all legal reporting has been done through the state of Wisconsin and the fund is in good standing with the state of Wisconsin. Okay, first of all, Paul, good job at deflecting.
Yeah, he never mentioned Omaha, Nebraska, as where it's registered now. But
exactly. Yeah. And hi, Thaddeus, Paul, Vanishing Tower Press, Race Pork Show. Thanks for tuning in. The thing is, what people are not understanding about this is this. Stephen Field brings up a very valid point. You know, you guys had $200,000 already. Okay. The problem is that you know, the Gygax Memorial Fund has raised over 200 grand already. and they're not explaining where it went, and they're expecting people on a Kickstarter to donate up to $1 million more dollars.
Mhm.
I'm doing that, Eric.
All right. Well, here, if Paul did a decent job updating the Facebook thread, and he talks about money is being basically clawed back by a donor.
Mm-hmm.
And here's the interesting thing: if those are monies that were accounted for, there's only one donor that hit six figures that I can think of.
Who do you think?
Watsy.
I don't think Watsy did it though.
Well, Watsy's the only one that donated significant monies. They're the ones that raised monies from the sale of the books, the reprints of the first edition AD&D books. That was something like $120,000.
Yeah, but that's not in the current.
But that would be money that was carrying over all these times. The fund only raised like 220,000, 230,000 total.
Yeah, but the point stands. It doesn't matter who donated it.
Okay.
They had over $200,000 raised. Okay, and I understand over the course of years it gets whittled down. I get it. But when you look at their taxes, something very interesting happened in 2022. They had $194,000 in their fund,
Yep.
and they made, and I looked at their minutes. Their minutes do not say, and we're going to get into minutes in a minute. Their minutes do not say anything about where the money went. In their 2022 income taxes, they list $174,000 for miscellaneous bill payment. Then on their Schedule O, for those of you who don't know, when you have a 501(c), your Schedule O is where your miscellaneous bill payments or miscellaneous payments go. They have to describe where that money went. And on their Schedule O, they go into a big, long, protracted description that really doesn't tell you much.
Oh, like what the goals of the fund, which is a
Well,
scholarship that has never been awarded, as far as I can tell.
well, the Schedule O lists out scholarship, lists out miscellaneous expenses, lists out cost of a bench.
Uh-huh.
And then someone brought up an interesting point. And what they brought up was they said, well, maybe this initial money and the amount that they're trying to bring up is going for the land. The problem is, even when you look at their Kickstarter states that the land has been donated by the city of Lake Geneva.
Yeah, actually, I think the city agreed to donate land back in 2014. The argument for years with Gail was she wanted a specific spot in the park, which
Yes.
they didn't intend to give her. And I don't. I mean, so the land was always being donated by Lake Geneva. So they weren't paying. Nobody's. There is maintenance involved. That's when they sold bricks earlier. This is like 2016 or something like that. They were going to be selling bricks. That was to go toward the maintenance.
Yes.
So,
But see, this is the whole point. When you take a look at the links and when you take a look at, they don't explain, okay, we got to do this one more time. We're going to try this one more time, and if you go, we got to accept it.
Restream doesn't like my connection.
Yeah.
No,
So
that's
the
not.
thing is the problem I have with the Gygax Memorial Fund is this: is there's a little bit of history about me that people do not know. I used to be I used to be a zoning inspector for the Village of Homer, and before that, I was a chairman of the Zoning Board of Appeals for the Village of Homer in Michigan. And we had to have quorums, and in our minutes, we had to say, like as an example, we want to pay bills. Okay.
mhm.
In the Gygax Memorial Fund minutes, they say Paul Stromberg makes a motion to pay the bills. Gail Gygax seconds it. Bills will be paid. That's not how you do it. You're supposed to say, Don presents a motion to pay the bills. Steve says, I make a motion to also pay the bills. Explain the bills, Don. I have to pay $30 to Eric Tenkar for advertising. Motion seconded. We pay that. And you have to list out everything. They are very non-transparent in where this money went, to be frank. And even
Well,
in their minutes, they're very vague. I mean, literally 95% of their minutes are a paragraph. So my question is although they said in their schedule, where $172,000 was spent, they don't say how the breakdown, they don't break it down in that schedule O.
no,
They
they
just
don't.
put it in the gross description. So I'm not stating that there's impropriety going on. What I'm stating is that you're not asking for 10 grand for a memorial. You're asking for upwards of $1 million. And when you're asking for upwards of $1 million, then your history definitely should apply as far as your transparency goes. And I'm sorry if I offend certain people, but the Gygax Memorial Fund's transparency has been abysmal here.
Well, I mean, let's be honest. Before Paul, it wasn't opaque. It was boarded up windows with butcher paper, so you can't look in.
But even with Paul Aaron,
Now it's more frosted glass.
yeah.
Okay, there's I'm not saying that it is opaque. I'm not saying it's transparent. I am saying we're getting a little bit more than we got before, which is what hurts, because it could be so much better. It could be so much. Hey, listen, here's the cards, and not feeling like we're trying to follow the pea beneath the shelves in New York City in the 70s.
Well, yeah, and it's just like this reply, and I go right back to the reply that Paul Stromberg made. He says, they've all legal reporting has been to the state of Wisconsin. The fund is in good standing. Okay, yeah, all right, but you're talking $172,000, and you're not saying what you did with it. Okay, I don't care if Paul Stromberg made 10 grand on this. He has to make something for his hard work. That the taxes say they pay Stromberg 10 grand. But when you say you pay $172,000 on miscellaneous bills, and then in your description on your Schedule O, you know, and now you're doing a new Kickstarter, which I don't know why they're not in GoFundMe, but they're in Kickstarter with no rewards. So basically, they're doing a GoFundMe for, again, upwards of $1 million.
Yep.
Randall Porter makes an interesting point. Hold on one second. Sorry, Randall. I'm getting to your comment right here. Randall Porter says, "Thanks for coming to the show. By the way, the original site was It was in a swampy near the river. It was mentioned in the Wired article. Yeah, but evidently, according to what the Gygax Memorial Fund says, land was donated by the city of Lake Geneva gladly, happily." More inward. If you look at the map that they show on the Kickstarter, it shows that. Good point. I was raised a poor child. Good point. But the problem is math only gets hard when they only give you half the equation. And I just think that, I'm sorry, first of all, I think it's offensive not to include Arneson in this. Sorry, I just do. I just think it's absolutely offensive. I think that Um, Gail Gygax and other people have worked tirelessly to erase Arneson's name from the D&D legacy. I just believe that.
She has worked tirelessly to remove all siblings, all of Gary's children except for one from Gary's legacy. So that's not a surprise.
I believe it's Tom, but it says not going to invest in this like a Justin Lassa scam, but with more polish and a little less ass holy. I don't think it. That's the thing. I don't think it's a grift or a scam. I honestly believe that they want to put this monument there. I really believe that. But the problem that I have with all of this is just the lack of transparency. It's, for Stromberg to come in there, and I know a lot of people like Paul. I have nothing against Paul, but you can't speak out the side of your mouth when you're asking people for $1 million. Sorry. You really need to answer the questions. And by the way, I mentioned you in my comment. I will say this right now. I said, Eric Tenkar did some breakthrough work on this, and your favorite fan came into it. Do you know who your favorite fan
Yes,
is? Don't you?
I know who my favorite fan is.
And basically said that this information was not trustworthy that was being posted. And I said, "Oh, hold on. Yes, it is, because it's public record. 501(c) tax returns are public record. You can't defend it. You can't say that the information's not right or it's being skewed, because anybody can look up a 501(c)'s tax returns, and their last tax returns to date were dated 2023.
Right. So the 2024 taxes should be filed by mid-November.
Yes.
ProPublica, if you're going to try to catch them early, if you don't want to wait for the Gygax Memorial Fund to update, the last 2 years weren't in apparently until earlier today.
Yeah.
But the ProPublica will give you everything that you would find elsewhere, and they're pretty quick at getting this stuff up.
Yeah. So, as far as what they're asking for, Eric, you want to cover this one?
All right. So what they're asking for in the there's different and by
There's
the way
levels.
there's levels, and I think the first remember, folks, I'm not at home. I'm not swinging here with 2 screens, but the base level is for the table. And that's like $225, and then they go up by about $200,000 for each. So we go from the table to a throne, chair, whatever. Then you got Gary in the chair. Then you got a dragon at Gary's feet in the chair, and then you have Gary in his chair with the dragon at his feet, sitting at a table with a map of the first dungeon level that he designed. That is the big get. Now, this was a normal initially. If they'd be sold to you that there'd be other chairs around this table, so you could roll dice with Gary.
Okay, I got it pulled up.
Part of it.
I got it pulled up, Eric.
Okay.
Their basic goal is for $150,000, and that is to install the stone and foundational elements of the monument: stone table, benches, and pavers, concrete foundations, apron, connecting sidewalk. Their next one is $250,000, which is a stretch goal, which then will have a D&D themed Dungeon Master's throne created. Then they go to $500,000, which then puts the statue of Gary seated upon the D&D throne. Then their third one is $700,000, which is to have a bronze treasure chest and guardian dragon wrapped around the base of the D&D themed Dungeon Master's throne. And then their fourth and final goal is $925,000, which is the 4x8 bronze map of Gary's first dungeon. Whew, that's a big one.
Yep.
Eric, you're making me want to drink White Claws instead of rum and cokes.
Hey, I don't normally drink during my lives, but hey, I'm gonna probably be an early night tonight. Start drinking early.
Well, it's a lot of money to ask for, and again, you know, I just don't see. Um, I don't know. I'd love to see a D&D memorial. I would love to see something like that in Lake Geneva, besides just a plaque by a fountain. Um, but again, I'm going to have to circle right back to the very beginning, and I'm going to have to say that there just seems to be a big push by certain people to just kind of erase Arneson out of the question, out of the equation, and make it just a straight Gary thing. And I can understand the widow's opinion.
And that's the stated goal of. Now we have to here. I'm going to throw a little curveball at you. The fund has to spend the money for its stated goals. Arneson was never part of the stated goals for what they're raising the money for.
Absolutely, that he
So
was
putting
not.
a statue of Dave Arneson there would have to come from monies outside of the GMF.
But that's my whole point. What they should have done, and they should have made that from day
No,
one.
I don't think they should. I personally, it's Lake Geneva. It's
Yes,
Gary. It's Gary's wife that is his widow that is doing it and
yes,
initiating it. Dave Arneson's family could have done the same thing. They haven't.
that's right.
Do I think it's needed? That's another question. I'm not even. I'm not even going to.
I guess it depends to me on two things. Okay, is this a memorial that celebrates Dungeons and Dragons, or is this a memorial that celebrates strictly Gary Gygax? Where the line for me blurs very much greatly is the fact that they're pushing this as a Gary Gygax Dungeon Dragons memorial.
Oh,
They're pushing him as the
age.
creator.
Yep.
Gary's first map, and what they're doing here is the inflection to me, which is unfair to Dave Arneson, is that Gary is the sole creator of D&D. Randall Porter asks a question. He says the big question is, what does Luke say? My question is, what does it matter what Luke says?
Right.
Because historically, Gary Gygax and Dave Arneson created Dungeon Dragons. You could argue semantics that one made more impact than the other. Of course he did, because Gary stayed with the company longer than Arneson. Why they split up is enough for another 3-hour video. Eric's like, yeah, tell me about that one.
I don't have. Listen, I don't even have a 12-pack in the fridge here, and no, I would have.
Yeah, I think my fifth of rum is about half full, so I don't think we got enough for a Dave Arneson versus Gary Gygax video. But the point is just I understand why it's being done. I understand the emotional attachment. I understand the emotional mechanics of it. I just think it's sad that they're doing it like that. I mean, let's face it. The first campaign world for D&D was designed by Arneson.
Yeah. Again, I am not saying that we need the memorial. I'm not saying we don't need the memorial. And I'm not saying that a memorial to the creation of D&D wouldn't be awesome. What I am saying is this memorial has always been for the sole reason of celebrating the life of Gary Gygax.
Yes.
And the way that Gary and Dave split was about as amicable as the worst of divorces.
I was about to say the worst of divorces.
Yeah. So I don't have an issue with Dave not being represented, but that being said, and I'll have to go back and look at the Kickstarter pitch. But Dave should get at least a throwaway mention as being part of the process.
He does not get any mention at all.
Well, then that's a little bit of a rewriting of history, which, to be honest, we've seen happen from both camps. But This camp has been the more successful one, so I'm not surprised.
Well, they're the more successful one because I think basically the Arneson family has just kind of stepped back away from it. Let's face it, um, Gary's family has a foothold in Lake Geneva. Um, I was raised a poorer child raises a point. He says, from what I've seen of Gail, I wouldn't trust her. I will just say this. I have heard things from certain trustworthy individuals about Gail Gygax that, um, I personally am not going to donate to it.
You
I mean,
know,
I'll be honest with you and just blunt here on the
yeah,
video. I just don't think that. I'm not saying put Arneson at the under of the table, but there should be at least some acknowledgement in a
at
plaque
least
or
in the
something for
Kickstarter
him.
pitch, and that I agree with. And as for Gail, um, Paul came into the equation because, and this is my observation, my conclusion. It could be wrong, but Paul came into the equation when it came to the Gygax Memorial Fund because they needed somebody to put a fresh coat of paint on it and a fresh face, a fresh point person to deal with other
Would you
than Gail.
stop, Glenn? Stop the rumors. Gosh.
Oh my God, Glenn! No, that was the person that there was somebody in her backyard that I don't know. She had, all listen. All I know is she didn't go to the VIP dinner at 2016 Gary Con.
Well, there's some historical facts about Gail Gygax, whether
Yeah,
people like it or not. She
yeah.
quashed Gygax magazine.
She quashed Gygax magazine, suing over. By the way, you can't technically trademark
A
a
name.
family name. You can't. You really can't do it. But she did it and prevented the family from using their family's name.
And correct me if I'm wrong. Didn't Luke just get done with the federal lawsuit with her?
Okay. That no. That was no. That was the will. That there was the
But it
will
was
that
over control of certain aspects of.
of that was about the Gygax. So the E. Gary Gygax revocable trust. All right, let me give you the 2 minute synopsis as best I can tell it.
Please do.
Okay, so when Gary passed, Gary had put into place a trust to put his properties under before he passed, and that trust was given to Gail. And by the way, as a side note, my understanding, should Gail pass, it didn't move on to Alex; it moved on to her sister. Just say that what you will. That was my understanding. But in any case, there was a will. And the will in question that came up a couple of years ago had always existed. I know there were rumors that it was just found. No, the will always existed, but nobody in the family thought that the properties that were covered by this trust were worth more than $50,000. We're not going to fight over it. It's going to cost us more to fight over it than we're actually going to make out of it. And then Tom DeSanto came along, Transformers producer. And Tom DeSanto wanted to license Gary's properties to Hollywood. Well, Gail was in negotiations, or her people were, and he said, I need a face man. We've been talking about this. And the face man he wanted was Luke, somebody he could present to people in Hollywood that could make an impression, that could hold his own. Gail couldn't do that.
Mm-hmm.
And my understanding, this is not a direct quote, so don't say this is a quote from Tenkar, but my understanding is something to the effect of no way is that person making any money out of this, because that would be part of the deal. And then suddenly DeSanto heard whisperings of will that would jeopardize who actually controlled the properties. And when that happened, deal was off. And then shortly thereafter, the will was filed in probate court, and it wasn't federal court; it was state court.
State
And
court probate, yeah.
yeah, and if you followed it, and I did, it's a strange. Probate court was strange because you have the siblings, you had Gail, and then you had the estate. Because Gary was represented by the estate.
Yes, the estate is always a separate entity in a probate.
And
matter.
it was interesting to follow. And Luke, from what I can gather, essentially has primary control over it, but the money gets distributed amongst all the family that gets earned from it. So I'm not sure. Don't ask me what the breakdown is. I don't know, and I don't care. I'm not a member of the family. But Gail theoretically should get part of the proceeds in the end.
Well, absolutely. She's his widow.
Yes.
Absolutely. There's an aspect of terrorism here.
You know, it's Scott, just a weird.
Yeah.
Yes, Scott Mulder there's way too much drama in our hobby.
Now, this brings me into my new little subject we can kind of branch into. Tom says, Scott Mulder, true, but what else is there talk about politics or religion? Shh. Okay. I mentioned changes with the vlog of many things.
Time to face the
changes. What we're going to do on the vlog of many things is listen. There's only so much gaming content that we can talk about on the vlog. There's only so much WotC bashing that can be done. I have entered into and I'm going to be honest with everybody, is I have entered into a license, so I am going to slow down on my content about that. I will just say that I had a discussion. So
you're getting a little. I'm going to give you absolution. Go forth, my son. Your sins are forgiven.
Thank you. So the thing is I'm not going to engage in any more bashing of people who have been fair with me.
Fair enough.
So we are going to start getting into a little bit of politics on this show. We are going to get into a little bit more talking about things like politics, current events, things like that. It's the vlog of many things. It's not the vlog of gaming.
Nah.
And we're going to talk about publishing. We're going to talk about game design. We're going to talk about editing. We're going to get into, Eric, you're a game designer. Tom's a game designer. Steve is a writer. I'm a writer and game designer. So we're going to get into a variety of interesting subjects starting next week. I know that people and I haven't seen Foogly on here. Isn't this weird?
Oh, no.
Where is Foogly's sarcasm?
He's hiding. Oh, speaking of writing and stories and stuff, let me go grab this here. I've started redoing just kind of more a cathartic thing just to help me with my stress levels because they've been just stupid lately. Is I've started releasing short stories again once a week. I'm trying to do like every Wednesday or Thursday once a week. I've done 2 already. I've got Tornado Trouble, which is kind of a fun one. Basically, kid goes out for a ride and ends up on the wrong end of a tornado. And then there's a second one, which I just released 4 days ago called An Inconvenient Time Jump. That one actually went over really well. Basically, it's about a guy who's in the middle of a science experiment, accidentally gets sent to the past, and then inadvertently influences his own future. Not intending to, but it's a fun one. I mean, and that's not really giving away what the story is. That's just kind of the 20,000 foot view. But
those are some of the things that we can start doing. Though, is we can start highlighting people, game designers. Scott Mulder says we could also talk about advancing and developing of the hobby. Those are good subjects to get into. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of misconceptions about game publishing out there that people just don't know. Eric, like I said, you're a game designer yourself. We can talk more about game design. So, Glenn says substitute Foogly here. Yeah. So the thing is,
he's an artist.
Yes, he is. He's also an author. He submitted a book to Wizard Tower Publishing. I'm actually in the middle of reading it. Glenn, so far so good. Um, but the thing is what we want to do is we want to start getting more into some more broader subjects. So, for those of you out there watching this, if you want to go ahead and email the vlog of many things at gmail.com, um, let us know about your story ideas. We're also going to stop highlighting hate mail. If you want to go ahead and you want to be insulting via hate mail, you're going to be ignored because we're going to start gearing this show a little bit more to things that people can, be interesting, utilize, and do.
Fun stuff rather than rage Karens.
Yeah. Tom Verlt says or Tammy Verlt Tom says the politics of gaming. Um, you know, and that's another thing. Especially since the Charlie Kirk assassination, I have noticed that my gaming groups have exploded with political bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And Thyatis was in here earlier. I don't know if Thyatis is still in here or not, but me and Thyatis are friends on Facebook, and I like Thyatis. But me and Thyatis are diametrically different politically. And, I don't make posts on Facebook to change people's minds. I make posts to make a point, and I think Thyatis will go ahead and say this is I walk away, and the reason why I walk away from arguments is because that's what they become.
Right. You're
You
no
know,
longer talking with somebody; you're talking at them.
yeah,
And that's the danger, and that's the polarity or the polarizing of the current environment.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
If you're not with me, you're against me, and we've seen that.
Well, you talked about that on your show also.
If you want to be in the middle, you're going to get hated by both sides because they're both going to claim you're that, because you're not with that.
Yeah, you're not one of them.
So you're against us.
I'll give you an example. I am no problem saying this on this, is I did a video and I condemned the assassination of Charlie Kirk. Now, in that same video, I said that I did not agree with a lot of things Charlie Kirk said, which I do not, and I'm fine with saying that. But what that resulted in, I shared the emails with Eric and Tom, was several emails threatening not only my life, but my wife and my kids. Over what? A video.
Over a video saying that you don't believe that taking a life because somebody disagrees with you is the right thing to do.
That's right.
But the thing is, and I've said this before, and I'm going to say this again, once you start calling your, dare I say it, opposition or anybody who disagrees with you, you start using labeling words, and then you start with I'm going to call it bullshit, so go F yourself if you disagree. But you start equating words with violence. That means that violence is no worse than words.
That's right.
And that's a rabbit hole that we've seen society go down in other times, in other countries, and we don't need it here. But we're getting there, and it's not going to end well.
No, it's not. And I think the friendship between Tom, Eric, and myself and Steve are a good indicator of that. I've known Steve for almost 20 years. And Steve, would you classify me and yourself as being a little bit opposed politically?
Yeah.
Yeah. And, Eric, me, you, and Tom have disagreed politically.
Yeah.
But the thing is, we've done so with respect. And I've done so with respect with Steve. And, Tom says it here, I don't have to agree with you to like you.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Well, it's like what I even said on Twitter the other day. A good contrarian, if constructive, is better than all the accolades in the world. Exactly.
And Scott Mulder says he's now 20 pages into OSR game engine and Cyberpunk game setting on top of what I'm working with Dom Interstellar and on tap for Wizard Tower games Peaky Blinders and still in sci-fi. These are the things that we need to start talking about. Is also not only games like this, but bringing to the forefront other creator stuff. Holding up our fellow creators, and even the ones that we don't agree with politically.
Yeah.
You know, and that's
Listen, there are skilled creators out there who I am, and when I say I'm diametrically opposed, I would say that probably here I'll Grim Jim. I like Grim Jim. I think he is a good person. Politically, I think he's the opposite of about 90% of the world's population. I'm going to say that. He is a socialist, communist circle and whatever. But I think he's a person who has some very high morals, personal morals, and he's likable. But I'm not going to sit down and get into a political conversation with him, just like I wouldn't get into a political conversation at my local pub for fear of having it with like 3 beers and then 2 punches afterwards. And that's the thing. People think the internet, we talk about internet muscles like beer muscles.
Yeah.
Internet muscles don't have the same repercussions that you have from beer muscles. You act up in a bar, somebody is going to throw you out at best. At worst, they're going to throw you out. But when it comes to the internet, what's the worst that can happen? People call you bad names. You block them, they block them. Oh, God forbid that somebody tries to cancel you. Then tell us something like, well, I didn't say anything. Because people think the internet has no repercussions. I have freedom of speech, and you got to listen. Nobody has to listen to the shit that you speak.
That's right.
That's something that people have to remember. Nobody is required to listen to anybody.
Well, there's also a new trend on social media, and that is if you post something I do not like, I will rally my friends to contact your employer and get you fired.
I know. I've seen that. You know what? 2 things. When I was NYPD, I did not do social media in my true, real last name.
Yeah.
Because, God forbid, the job found something that they didn't like, or somebody on the internet started to make certain complaints. So that's how 10-car came to be my social media last night.
I have to ask you, Eric.
Yeah.
I've never asked you this question.
Yeah.
Where did you come up with the name 10-car?
All right. So and I've used it on police boards, and they go, "What are you, the special 10-car?" Which is the 10-car is the car that does precinct assignments like noise complaint. No, that's not where it came from.
Okay.
Comes from before the job. 10-car was a dwarven henchman for my friend Paul, who lost on 9/11, who then became a party henchman when Paul dropped out of the game for like a year, and then became like a quasi NPC PC. And then when we went to EverQuest, that was my dwarven paladin. So that's where that came from. That's where 10-car came from.
So 10-car has been a long time part of your game.
10-car has been part of my gaming, God, probably since 91, 92.
Now, see, my longtime gaming name that I had since I was a 10-year-old starting playing D&D was Roderick.
All right. Do you want to know my first character's name?
What was it?
Dating back to what? Christmas break of 80-81. Cyrus. The fighter.
Cyrus.
You want to know why Cyrus? Because I was a much too aware 6th grader. And Cyrus Vance was the Secretary of State.
Cyrus Vance was Secretary of State, yeah.
And I thought Cyrus was a cool name.
Okay, now for everybody in chat, what was your first character's name in D&D? Because mine was Roderick and Flint. Roderick was a elf and Flint was a dwarf.
Okay.
Before Dragonlance, even.
See, like I can remember my first like those core characters. That was my first character. Then there was Stryker the Paladin, Megambrand the Ranger, Valen the Magic User, and I thought it sounded really cool at the time, Phasmir the Illusionist.
See, I had Cord was a fighter,
Okay.
Kord. He was a fighter, and then because I was a big David Eddings fan starting in the early '80s, of course, my magic user was switched to the name of Belgareth.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. David Eddings. Yeah.
Yep.
Well,
So,
Unearthed Arcana, I had to have a barbarian, right? Because the barbarians had all those
mhm.
bonuses. And me and my friend Dave had barbarian brothers, but my guy's name was Yar, but that was short for "You run and I'll find you wherever the fuck you are."
Love it.
Yar. So
Tom's was Troy. Knucklebones was Briny from Savage World of Conan magazine. Also Bront. And then Michael Stengel says Arion, human magic user. And then Jefferson Starship Trooper says mine was a family of wizards named Von Egenhard and the Tiefling Paladin Sir Drumacos Weary. And Tom says his buddy's Darren's is named Nerad, which was his name backwards. Yeah, see?
there you go. Isn't it scary how we can remember these characters' names
Yeah.
from 40 years ago?
As a matter of fact, the crazy ass thing is here.
Oh, they create characters, you know.
If I can find it. This, talk about history. All right. This is my original folder for D&D.
Oh yeah.
Cord when I was 10 years old. My original character folder with my player character record sheets when I was 10 years old for Roderick, and all my characters are in here. I still have that, man. I'm 57 years old, people. This is 47 years old of history right here.
Yeah.
My old maps. This is probably one of the things I treasure the most, believe it or not, from being of history.
I can see it.
You know, just kind of strange, going through it and the way the player character record sheets were listed out and such. But yeah,
Yeah.
10 years old.
Shadow Spawn, yes, Thieves World, the magic user thief type of character.
Yes.
By the way, Thieves World was good, really good for the first 3 books, and then it was kind of good for the next 3 books, and then it was shite.
Yeah, Thieves World really started off strong.
Oh yeah.
And then I think what they did was, I think they just kind of ran out of material.
Well, they started farming it out, like
Yeah.
secondary authors, and it was like the initial authors understood their setting, and then after that, it just didn't really. It was like generic fantasy. The Thieves World beat on the head. So
Grim, Scott Mulder. Glenn says LoJack the Lumper. Glenn also says,
Jack the Lumper.
yep, Grok Loinbund. Rummy LaRue. Tom says, oh yeah, I got lucky. I have very few things from my childhood, but I have this and I have a couple of my D&D books.
There you go.
Terry R says Drom Wolf's Blood, Dwarven Fighter, Pendor Claymore, Human Fighter. We got Sir Dramakos as a Tiefling embraced the most law-abiding behavior possible as Horva's Devil's Heritage. Paul Catrone. Shadow Spawn was my character. Eric, you got probably yourself a low night tonight.
Yep. Now I'm still gonna pop into the Discord for a bit.
Yeah, it's going on 9 o'clock. We've been here for an hour, so I had to collect up my daughter's name called Brother Gaxians. They need to find what was missing. Yeah. Boy, you went really deep into the storyline there, Jefferson Starship Trooper. But everybody, thank you for tuning in tonight.
Yes.
Eric has to be leaving. Eric, you are at ShireCon this week.
ShireCon, folks. If you're going to be up here this weekend, it kicks off tomorrow at noon and all day Saturday. Joe the lawyer wants to do some live streaming from here, so it should be interesting.
Yes. So, yeah, do some live streaming.
But of course.
Make your stay presentable.
Oh, overrated.
And Glenn K. Amo, thank you for tuning in, Glenn. I think you're new here. Says, I still have the original orange sheet packed away. Glenn is going to be the last one in chat. Everybody, thank you for tuning in tonight. Starting next week, we're going to start hitting a little bit more things like this. Interesting, talking about what your first character was, and just kind of broaden our horizons a little bit. It doesn't have to always be about drama. Steve grunts and Eric grunts, so, and I agree.
Drama.
Well, let's be honest, Eric. We have had a lot of drama in the gaming.
We've had
since
I have my
2020.
drama fill. I need to get inoculated against drama. I need my drama vaccine.
Sure,
So
yeah, make sure you get plenty of Dramamine.
Dramamine.
No dad jokes. No dad.
Yeah. But Eric, stay safe. Have a good time this weekend. Tell Tom Wilson I said hello.
I will.
And Tom, by the way, real quick, is doing an article for RP Gamer Magazine.
Excellent. He's a good writer.
Yes, he is. So everybody, thank you for tuning in tonight. We'll see you guys next Thursday. Please hit a like and subscribe on the vlog of many things, the respective channel you're looking at. It helps support our channels. Be much appreciated. And we'll see you guys in the coming days. Good night.